And I am Cheryl Grace po from the Department of Budget and Management, one of the selected subject matter experts for the course, Applied Analytics in Public Finance and Budgeting. So through public finance and budgeting, or can we go to the next slide, please? Through public finance and budgeting, or collectively administered under public financial management, stakeholders in the public and private sectors will be able to ask the following questions. Are we spending within our means, or are we practicing aggregate fiscal discipline, or are we spending on the right priorities? Or are we achieving allocative efficiency? Or are we spending within measurable results, or in other words, technical efficiency? Are we able to empower and encourage our citizens to engage in the PFM or the public financial management processes? And are we able to strengthen accountability and transparency initiatives in PFM? As a nation, are we able to earn revenues and sources of funds to support government programs, projects, and activities, considering the risks that are attendant now at this time of pandemic? We can also ask, why do we need to borrow from foreign and domestic sources? And even the question on how much of the trillions of budget really go to the vulnerable sectors of society? And more importantly, how do we now report and monitor ang kwento ng bawat kwenta? Okay, so the course on applied analytics in public finance and budgeting will help and aim to assist in answering these questions. Next slide, please, which presents the course description. But public financial management encompasses budgeting, accounting, auditing, cash management, revenue management, debt management, public reporting on public sector financial operations. So while ordinary citizens may think that public finance and budgeting, or even PFM, are not their cups of tea, they would soon realize the value of their participation in the whole PFM cycle po. Whether you are a PFM practitioner, a taxpayer, a household, a business firm, or as part of the factors of production, or an actor in the market system, or a stakeholder. So considering the impact of public finance and budgeting in both private and public sectors, and with the urgency signaled by the pandemic for better governance and faster PFM operations, it is imperative that all of us will be capacitated as PFM practitioners, using data and information as our tools. Thus, this program will invite learners to embark on this journey with these following course objectives. Next slide, please. Learners will be able to identify the fundamental components of public finance, and through data analytics, they will be enabled to determine trends and patterns in taxation, in expenditures and government budgets, all of which aim to guide the government, the policymakers, the implementers, and likewise the public sector, the private sector. It is also the goal for learners to understand current public financial issues that matter most in our daily lives, especially now that the government of the Philippines has also continued to implement PFM, or public financial reforms, to install the building blocks for an effective PFM system in the Philippines. And it is also the objective that learners will also be able to appreciate the fiscal policies and decisions of the government on taxation, borrowing, expenditures, and budgets, which are all essential for managing our bottom line, our budget deficit, and the government fiscal program. So in our bid to embed these needed competencies in public finance in the minds of the co-learners, the course will focus on the following 5 major course topics. Next slide, please. So we have the Philippine budget cycle, wherein we will be introducing to you the budget process in the national government, to enable you to understand where the PFM stakeholders may have their stake and their contribution in the whole budgeting process, and to see if there are points of improvement in this whole budget cycle or budget phases. Second topic would be the allocation of the national budget priorities, trends, and patterns. We will be using as basis the 2020 national government budget. But since the 2021 budget has already been approved, you might also use this as also a reference, aside from what you will see in the SPARTA module, for the use for the tools that you will be using under data analytics. But for this module, we will be focusing on the 2020 national government budget allocations by sector, by general expenses or expense classes, region, recipient unit, and even appropriation source. And we will be discussing also these special purpose funds, these disaggregated and those that are still lump sum at the moment. We will also discuss the Bayanihan 1 and 2 initiatives so that we could now determine where these funds were funneled in the efforts to address the pandemic effect on the economy and on the society as a whole. And we will be using data analytics to determine the trends, the patterns, and see these data sets in a newer and in a better light, considering it for more effective policy making. Then third module would be the tracking of the revenue performance. You would see the performance of our revenue generating, mostly the common revenue generating or the biggest revenue generating agencies. We have BIR or Bureau of Internal Revenue and the Bureau of Customs, and also looking at the other types of revenues that we can have as a source of funds for our programs and budgets. For the programs that are being implemented by the government of the Philippines. And we will now also discuss the income. We will also be discussing the income taxation system of the Philippines to see the desirable characteristics of this system and see whether they are able to assist or enable the Philippine government in generating the needed revenues for our operations. For the fourth module, we would be looking at the monitoring of our borrowing performance or our financing program. Maybe we could now determine why do we really need to borrow from domestic and foreign borrowings and to see how they are managed in the public financial management. And the fifth module will focus on the bottom line, which is the government fiscal program, being able to put a leash on our budget deficit, of course, through the borrowings, through fiscal policies, both expenditure and revenue policies, the monetary policies that are in play, macroeconomic indicators, and how public finance can be able to help in determining the way or the way to address the problems in macroeconomic indicators, in our budget deficits, in our operations, and in our taxation policies. We have also put an element of internal controls and risk management and being able to look at the fiscal risks and the outlook of the Philippines in the middle of the pandemic. So those are the 5 major course topics that you will be looking forward to in the SPARTA module for this course. And we look forward to embarking this journey with you, and we hope that your journey will become more fruitful and we contribute to the bigger picture of making our public financial management more effective and more efficient for good governance. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Professor She. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And I'm Jody Salas. And I'm going to be talking about mostly on the data engineering and e-governance. Yeah, we can move to the next slide, please, with the course description. Yep, let's proceed to the course description. Thank you. We're talking about 2 big items here. One is about how to prepare and manipulate the data. So that's where the data engineering topic is all about. And then we're gonna link that to answer bigger questions about e-governance. So it's 2 separate topics that are very integral to one another. So for this one, there's going to be a big discussion about the history of e-government and then e-governance, like what's the difference between the two. In particularly, we define them here as the e-government talks about the transactional side of it, and the e-governance will talk about the regulatory, the policies, and pretty much managing the different stakeholders to make this work for delivery of public service. And as we mentioned a while ago, that we need to be able to make decisions based on data, evidence-based. And there are many sources of data. So that's also a big situation. There are local sources, there are open sources, and there are private sources, and there are international sources. So how do we manage all of this information, put them all together, and funnel them and process them to make good decisions? So that's pretty much summarizes this course, like from data to information, and then into knowledge, and then hopefully to make proper and right decisions. Next slide, please. So the objectives include, we have, first is to understand the difference between e-government and e-governance, at least for the definition used in this course, because today they're used interchangeably, but for our course, we just define e-government focusing on the transaction, like the e-commerce, payment online, and having those Facebook groups for those LGUs and all those websites. The e-governance is making all of this work and also involving the people in e-participation, e-decision making, and dissemination of information. So once we clarified those concepts, we will talk about the data. So how are data stored? How can we process them? What's the best way of processing and storing and processing them? And we will introduce the ETL, the extract, transform, and load frameworks. It's pretty much common now. And these are the technical aspects that, in a way, enables data analytics, or pretty much how you can prepare a report and make them more automated. Yeah, you have to work on the data engineering part. And finally, the different storage and the database solutions. Next slide, please. So in line with the objectives, of course, we need to establish first the concepts of e-government and e-governance. And we wanted to give you an introduction and a brief history on how it came about in the Philippines, to appreciate that we've also, we started in the 1970s, and then we were, in the last couple of years, we've been really ramping up on the e-government. And on the second module, we introduced the concept of open government and open government data, because the Philippines is also one of the pioneers in the open government partnership. And at least in the executive branch, we have that freedom of information. So we really have this open data available. And we believe that for every publicly financed projects and initiatives, the data should be available for people to use. So that's pretty much the data sources. So understanding that situation in the Philippines and where to get those information would really be helpful for us. On Module 3, we'll talk about, from these data storages or sources, how do we get them in? How do we organize this data? And pretty much how do we process them? Module 4 talks about the governance side of information, because information and data they can be very powerful. And so of course, like with power, like you need to have more greater responsibility. So we need to establish certain regulations, like we have to comply with data privacy, data security, and make sure that in analytics, we try to aggregate the information and we remove those personal data and sensitive data to protect the information of the person. So those are the things that we have to remember. So when we're manipulating data, we always have to follow and do it ethically. And finally, we wanted to apply that in an issue close to our hearts. So it's a COVID-19 pandemic. And we have a very good source of open data available in the Department of Health website. So the activities pretty much revolves around manipulating those data and figuring out the stakeholders. Are they using it the right way? Do you think they have sufficient data to make the right decisions? And are you happy with the decisions? And do you think they're pretty much grounded on this information and data? So it's a very interesting course. There's a bit of data engineering, which is you can call it technical, and then there's that balancing of high-level governance topics. But yep, we try to tie them end to end and pretty much use a very interesting case for this particular subject. So we hope you enjoy the course, and yeah, we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Jody, Dr. Lloyd, and Prof. Cheryl. Time, allow me to introduce two other subjects, and these are urban planning in the fourth industrial revolution and livable and sustainable cities in e-governance. And this will be handled by Professor Rafael Rivera. So first is on the urban planning in the fourth industrial revolution. And the description of this course will delve into the context of safe public places. And as you can see in slide, the course will introduce of urban planning in the context also of fourth industrial revolution. We have to take into consideration theoretical, historical approaches with greater emphasis on manifestations and big data, and among others. So this is an or rather multidisciplinary field of study. In the next slide, you where in the will be able to have a good appreciation. Of course, this is and planning into consideration and of course, in this course, you may ask the question, how might our next 5 or in the next 10 years, and what is our shared vision for resilient, sustainable, and livable cities, which will lead us to the next course, which is livable and of course you will have the third and wherein be useful when you design or your community. Of course, at this will modules. Can we go back to the modules, Sean? The first one is on industrial revolution, urban Sean. Towards the revolution, and there will be discussion. This is a bit comparative study on 4IR challenges and opportunities in ASEAN and in the Philippines. On there will be accelerate. This focus on how are we going technology and have also an open data for resilience initiative or the open IR when it comes to economy, and so a discussion on the rise of the global service economy, the changing nature of work, and for I lost my signal. Huh? Can you still hear me? I'm back. I have two computers just for me to be, prepared
Yes,
in
ma'am, can you
case that my internet connection will be out here in the other computer.
Yes, Dean, I think you are more audible this time.
So,
I think we have a problem again, Dean.
On urban planning in the. Okay, am I in now?
Can you try it
Yeah,
again,
so for
Dean?
me now, okay. Yeah, so can you hear me
Not that
now?
good, Dean. Okay, so I think we'll just have a few connection issues.
All right, am I back? Okay.
Dean, can you try it again? Can you try to
Okay,
repeat
here's the other for
sentences?
that. So going back to the can we, Sean, can we go back urban planning? So as I mentioned earlier, module urban planning, and this include industrial revolutions and urban transition. That's the right. Also discuss development revolution and discussion. And
Hi, Dean. My apologies to interrupt you again. I think we have technical issues again, connection issues. The audio is not that good, so we'll try to fix it with the graduate school right at this moment. Yes.
okay, what about here? Can you hear me?
Yes, Dean. I think this is somehow better. Can you try to speak for Dean?
Okay. So sorry for the technical difficulties. I have 3 laptops ready with me here. Anyway, so let's discuss. As I mentioned earlier, we have 6 modules. So it's there on your slide. It talks about industrial revolution and likewise comparative challenges and opportunities in ASEAN and the Philippines. And the next slide, the fourth module is about yeah. Let me see, just a moment. We're having difficulty here right now. But the second module is, rather the second course is somehow related also with this first course. No? So on the fourth, on the next slide, we have 3 more modules, and these are about accelerating sustainable development in the fourth industrial revolution, utilizing technology for development purposes, and how are we going to prepare for the fourth industrial revolution. This is about economy and labor market, and then securing the fourth industrial revolution, the dangers, no? And also the threats on the internet and use of digital technologies. Okay, so the next course is about livable and sustainable cities.
Dean?
And this course will basically talk about how are we going to have a preferred feature, which is livable and sustainable cities, taking into consideration the nexus of people, technology, and policy. So the next slide is about the course description. And on the course description, it says there, we will focus on innovative tool in fostering livable and sustainable cities. And this will introduce learners to the salient features of e-governance and how it can affect citizens. As I mentioned earlier, it must be citizen-centric, because when we mentioned about technology, we always refer to the tools, no? And forget about the question, for whom is this development? So the core or the focus of this, of course, are the Filipino people. And then the modules will be on, okay, right, on the next slide. The modules will be on cities we want, that is resilient. So the professor will discuss the DNA of a sustainable and livable city. and also why we call it smart city and what makes a city function. No? So a discussion on data ecosystem is also incorporated here. And of course, the basic question, what is e-governance? So there will be a solid discussion on this. The fourth module is about government to citizens. Then the fifth module is on government, and the sixth is on government to government. Ends the presentation of the six online courses in collaboration with SPARTA Philippines. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dean Alizan Ferrante Calina, and to our professors, Professor Salas, Professor Lloyd, and Professor Cheryl. Maraming salamat po. And now, would like to show you again the 6 public management courses. Arvil? There you go. And now we are opening the platform to our audiences. Feel free to raise your hands and wait to be acknowledged. And if you have questions, we may now ask Dean Lezan and our subject matter experts if you have some questions related to the content of the courses. In case you have some general questions which are about our curriculum, we will be answering it. We will be answering it later through the project management team of Sparta. So do we have some questions from our audiences? From our audience, sorry. Okay, I think we have the chat. Is it possible that the urban planning and smart cities courses will also cover the context of regional planning as well as towns, municipalities, respectively? From I think this is Romblon State University.
Mhm. Yes,
Yan
yeah,
po.
I can answer
Dean?
that. No, thank you for asking that question. Actually, it's already in the introduction. I just forgot to mention it. Yes, it will be included.
All right. So thank you so much for that very brief answer. Yes, this will be included the context of regional planning in towns and municipalities. Other questions from our audience? Our audience, please do feel free to chat or raise your hands and make yourself available through video and audio, and you may actually personally ask our speakers. Okay. So there. And I think we have received some questions earlier about the courses, which are really more of the curriculum side of Project Sparta. And later on, we will be answering your queries about that. And now, since, okay, I think we have some questions in the chat. What is the duration of the question? Is GIS? Okay, I think this is a good question as well from Romblon State University. Question, Dean Lezan, is GIS and remote sensing will be covered in the course urban planning? Dean?
Yes, because
Dean, I think your audio po is intermittent.
yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, now Dean, you're now clear. I think nawala po ata ulit, Dean. Okay, while waiting for the audio of Dean, what is the duration of the course? Some questions, and are the courses synchronous or asynchronous? Okay, are the courses to be enrolled as one? These some of these questions that were mentioned will be answered later on by our curriculum team. But now let us check if we have Dean Lizano ready to answer the question on the content, specifically if GIS and remote sensing will be covered in the course urban planning. Dean, are you there?
Not yet.
Okay.
Can you?
And Dean, we can now see you, but we hope that Dean, I think one of your accounts, which is shown here in the application, is muted. So kindly check. Oh,
Yeah. Can
okay,
you hear
then
me now?
yes, now Dean.
Okay. Yes. Regarding the question of our participant from one university, yes, it will be included also because it talks about technology, and we will be using um, Internet of Things, AI, and that will include GIS and remote sensing.
All right, that is noted. Thank you so much, Dean. Um, okay, are the courses free? This question I can answer it. Of course, the courses are free. Okay. Do you have prerequisites? I think, Dean, this is a good question as well. Do you have prerequisites before taking up a course? Is data engineering a highly technical course? And of course, our subject matter experts could also share their thoughts on these questions, please.
Yeah, I would like to call on Dr. Lloyd Bautista to answer this question. Dr. Lloyd?
Hi, Dr. Lloyd.
This pertains to the need for a highly technical course, data engineering. Is that the question?
Yes, yes,
The
Dr. Lloyd. The data
uh,
engineering course.
the course was designed as a public course for people who are interested in immersing in data analytics. So there is no requirement for you to have a data engineering course. So the way it was designed is similar to many of our books, like Coursera and other MOOCs in the market. So it's not necessary for you to have a data engineering course. Although if you do have, it will really help a lot.
All
Yeah,
right,
that's
I
it.
think. Thank you so much. I hope our um, Dr. Lloyd was able to answer your question. And we are actually monitoring the questions that you guys are actually sending through chat. We'll make sure that we will be answering all these questions later. Then, of course, we're actually talking with our curriculum team for us to provide you specific answers to your questions. Anyway, thank you so much again, Dean Lizan, Professor Salas, Dr. Lloyd, and Professor Cheryl. Okay. Then now, earlier we had a technical issues during the keynote address, and now I think we have now fixed the connection, and some technical glitches are now okay. May I now call on the former Undersecretary of DICT and the trustee and chairman of the Analytics Association of the Philippines. Let us welcome back Mr. Monchito Ibrahim. Hi, sir.
Hi, thank you, Nico. And my
Welcome, sir.
apologies for everyone. Okay. Uh, Thank you for, kayo na bahala sa, sa slide ko because I had problems kanina. Anyway, can we have the first slide after that, the opening slide? Thank you. Okay. Uh, Many industry experts and popular business publications, including The Economist, have recently attested that data, not oil, is now the most valuable resource in the world. Industry experts have coined the phrase data economy to describe the influence and prominence of big data in today's society. The concept behind data is the new oil is that just like oil, raw data is not valuable in and of itself, but rather the value is created when it is gathered correctly, completely, accurately, connected to other relevant data, and done so in a timely manner. Just like oil, when properly refined, usable data quickly becomes a very critical decision-making tool, and thus information or insights, allowing organizations to react to market forces and be able to become more proactive and intentional in their decision-making processes. Now, but what we have seen today during this pandemic is that much of the COVID-19 data that we have, okay, the conclusion is that the usual conclusion is that more data is much better. But what we have seen is that more data does not always equate to better information. Well, there may be an abundance of data, and that data may be in demand without ensuring that it is complete, accurate, timely, and connected to other relevant data. The information may not actually be valuable in driving key decisions. Worse, it may actually lead to the wrong decisions. We've seen this play out in the current pandemic. Next slide, please. What is data analytics? Simply, was is defined, it is the science of analyzing raw data in order to make conclusions about that information. Many of the techniques and processes of data analytics have been automated today into mechanical processes and algorithms that work over raw data for human consumption. Data analytics techniques can reveal trends and metrics that would otherwise be lost in a mass of information. This information can then be used to optimize processes, to increase the overall efficiency of our organization, or uncover patterns to extract valuable insights from it. Next slide, please. What is data-driven government? It is actually all about applying data for public value in the planning, delivery, and monitoring of public policies and services and projects. Okay, when an agency employs a data-driven approach, it simply means that it is making strategic decisions based on data analysis and interpretation. It is evidence-based. A data-driven approach enables the agency to examine and organize their data with the goal of better serving their constituents. Now, there are several things that we need to actually do in order to move towards being a data-driven government agency. Can we have the next slide, please? It is first, we need to be integrating data. It is only when we integrate the mountain of data that we or the other agencies in government already have, okay, that we're able to really get a whole of government insights on the data that we have. Next slide, please. Extracting intelligence. We should be able to extract insights or intelligence from the data, of course, using advanced analytic techniques, okay, that we have today. We have a lot of tools today available for us, okay, as compared to how we were 15 to 20 years ago. Next slide, please. Incoming. Sharing and coordinating, okay? Walang meaning yung insights and intelligence na na-extract natin dyan if we're actually not able to share it to the other departments or to the other agencies, even beyond across jurisdictional boundaries, okay? If we want to be able to actually do whole of government approaches to doing projects, okay, we need to actually be sharing data, okay? Of course, 12 years ako sa government, alam ko how siloed our common, the common mentality. And I really hope that in the next few years, we should actually be able to overcome this kind of mentality. We need to actually put out, throw away that kind of a mentality, okay? Yung akin lang, yung sa inyo, bahala na kayo sa buhay nyo. Next slide, please. Now, there are several kinds of analytics, okay? Let me start with what descriptive analytics is all about. It actually tells you what is and why. Descriptive analytics is actually used to describe the basic features of a data or a data set in a study. They provide simple summaries about the sample and the measures. Now, together with simple graphics analysis, they can actually form the basis of virtually every quantitative analysis of data that we can actually do. With descriptive analytics, you are simply describing what is or what the historical data actually shows. Next slide, please. Predictive analytics tells us what if. It is actually the use of data, statistical algorithms, and machine learning techniques to identify the likelihood of future outcomes based on historical data. The goal is to go beyond knowing what has happened to providing the best assessment of what will happen in the future. Organizations are turning to predictive analytics to help solve difficult problems and uncover, of course, new opportunities, like, develop new innovations. Some common uses would actually be detecting fraud and improving the operations of the organization. Now, predictive analytics is actually the one usually is actually the type of analytics where we use modeling techniques. Okay, and this is different from descriptive models, yung isang nasabi ko kanina earlier, because it helps you understand, unlike descriptive models that help you understand what happened, or diagnostic models that will help you understand key relationships and determine why something happened. In the case of prescriptive analysis, okay, it tells you what to do. It factors in information about possible situations or scenarios, available resources, past performance and current performance, and it actually suggests a course of action or strategy. Siya magsasabi, ito yung mga pwedeng nyong gawing courses of action. Okay? And there are numerous types of data-intensive, sorry, I'm talking now of, prescriptive analytics, okay? Next slide, please. And there are numerous types of data-intensive government agencies that can actually benefit from using prescriptive analytics, including those in the financial services, SSS, GSIS, Pag-ibig, and healthcare sectors, where the cost of human error is very, very high. Okay. Now, the last type is geospatial analytics. Okay. Can we have the next slide, please? It is actually about the gathering, display, and manipulation of imagery, GPS, satellite photography, and historical data described explicitly in terms of geographic coordinates, okay? The specific location in terms of street, address, postal code, or whatever, forest stand, identifier, and they're actually applied to geographic models. Saan ginagamit ito? They are used to predict, manage, and learn about all kinds of phenomena affecting the Earth, for example, its systems and inhabitants. So importante ito when we now look at crisis management, disaster management, climate change modeling, weather monitoring, okay, and even human population forecasting and animal population management. Next slide, please. The significance of data analytics in the public sector. We've been gathering a lot of data from time immemorial, okay, and we've not actually been able to really make value out of the data that we have. Okay, we need to start looking at how we can actually create value out of this in order to, marami tayong pwedeng gamitin yan. And getting through these programs that is being launched by DAP today would really help us create value, start creating value of the data that we're able to collect every day in our offices, okay? It enables more accurate situational awareness and cooperation using advanced analytic and collaboration tools. Of course, importante ito, and it is for this reason that we have our data.gov.ph was this initiative in government, and the caretaker there is actually the FOI people, okay? But I'm not really sure how updated the data sets that they have there are today, no? Hindi ko pa nasisilip yun. Anyway, the next slide, please. The key challenges that we have today, in the application of data analytics in our agencies, okay, are the following. We need to be able to really understand the basics of data analytics. We don't have to be expert mathematicians. We don't have to be expert statisticians, okay? But we need to have a certain level of understanding of basic statistics, okay? So that we should actually be able to make use of even very, very common tools like Excel to really create insights from what data available, whatever data available is with us today, okay? Uh, we need to build a digital infrastructure to collect, manage, and actually open data. The importance here is that data analytics start with data collection. As the public sector carries out functions, it has ample access to diverse sources of data. Okay, but despite the potential for data collection, the public sector at times does not pay attention to the standardization of data, for which a common format and structure are necessary. And yan ang ginagawa. This is actually one thing, one dimension or one aspect that our FOI people are actually working on right now. Okay, and today sila yung ating tumatayong chief data officer ng the whole of the Philippine government. The third one is creating a data integration and sharing culture. We need to actually be able to, like I said, create this culture of data sharing, okay? Integrating data from within our levels, okay? And then sharing it so that by sharing it, we're actually able to create more and better wide-ranging insights from all the government data that we have today in the whole of government. And the last one is actually building the capacity for data analytics. Dito papasok ngayon yung mga courses, itong mga courses na ni-launch ng DAP, okay? This will actually help us move forward, be able to help us rather make use of some techniques and tools in order for us to create value out of the data that we have today with us, okay? Next slide, please. Konting commercial, and this is where the Analytics Association of the Philippines come in, okay? Our mission is to really help create the analytics ecosystem in the Philippines. Ang pinaka-goal namin dito, in fact, is to make the Philippines the global hub for data analytics. We work with government, we work with individual practitioners, we work with technology providers, we work with cities and provinces and municipalities, okay? In our smart city initiatives, and lastly, we work with academia to create the right courses to really develop the competencies and skills needed in order for us to really develop the analytics ecosystem in the Philippines. Okay, in doing this, next slide, please. We've partnered with some more. Ilabas na lang natin yung ibang wings niya. Okay, sige pa, yan. We've worked with DAP as well as DOST shared in creating the content, helped develop the content for Project SPARTA. As previously mentioned, the objective of DOST here is to actually be able to create or train 30,000 Filipinos in the use of data analytics techniques. Okay, and can I have the last slide, if I may? Okay, sige pa. And these are just some of the projects, and more importantly, we've actually helped create the three maturity models that is actually now being used by different professionals in the Philippines, the different organizations in the Philippines, and at least 3 cities today in the Philippines. Okay, we develop the professional maturity model, the organizational maturity model, and the smart city maturity model. And this is where we are very, very focused on right now. Last slide, please. I think that's going to be my last slide. I would like to encourage all of you to actually become a member of the Analytics Association of the Philippines, including all your faculty in the AP. Okay, join the more than 300 professionals who we have there. We will soon be creating fellowships for specific research work. And also, if you're for some of your friends who are in the corporate world, they can actually join the more than 150 corporate members that we currently have in in AAP. So just visit www.aap.ph, okay, and check how AAP can actually help each one of you develop yourselves into better analytics professionals. Of course, that is after you've graduated from all the courses that the AP is launching today. Thank you so much for having me here. And my apologies again for what happened, Kanina. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, and would like to apologize as well for the annotation made on the presentation. But anyway, sir, of course, we have learned a lot from your keynote address, and I actually took note some that geoanalytics is really important in terms of if we have the crisis, especially right now, human and animal population, and we do have a lot of public servants that who are here right now, and it is important that we do create value of the all the data that we have. Since sobrang dami nating data actually that are available, we just need to fix all these things and organize them in order for us to have accurate situational awareness. There you go. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Sir
Nico.
Mon. Okay. There, and I think we, as mentioned earlier, we actually noted some of the questions we had during in our chat group, and I will be answering some of them. So please do, for our audiences, please do listen to these answers to your questions. So I think the question some of the questions. One is, are the courses to be enrolled as one or to be taken individually? Other than the 6 individual certificates, is there a certificate or diploma to the learner for possibly completing all the 6 SPARTA courses? Answer: this is not a requirement since the courses can be taken individually. Please note that these are also elective courses, so learners have the freedom to choose from the list, but they should take note the minimum amount of electives to be taken under their chosen pathway. Another question, I think this is the first question we had. Are the questions synchronous or asynchronous or both? The courses are asynchronous because they are self-paced. Another question, other than the 6 individual certificates, is there a certificate or diploma? Yes, we also issue a certificate for pathway completion, aside from the certificates for each individual courses. So once you take one course, you will be receiving a certificate for that. What is the duration of the course? Depends on the course. It depends on the course. So each course po has different duration po. Okay. From COA, Ms. Mona Linda Pangandaman, are the courses for free? Do we have the schedule for the 6 courses? Well, yes, the courses are free. And individuals can apply for the scholarship by heading to Course Bank website. So for those who have not enrolled or taken courses or Project Sparta courses, you might visit coursebank.ph. And as to the schedule, the courses are self-paced, so learners can take them at their own preferred time. So there is, however, a 6-month rule or action time, so learners need to keep in mind that they must finish their enrolled courses within the said period or risk re-enrolling. So I think medyo mahaba naman yung time natin to finish, tapos asynchronous pa siya. It's really convenient for us to finish or take these courses. So here we are highly encouraging everyone now to visit after this event, to visit Course Bank, because for sure there are a lot of courses that you guys can take absolutely for free. Another question. Okay, so I think we are still answering some of the questions. Can we enroll in these courses while we are still enrolled in a pathway? The answer here is yes, as these courses are electives under several SPARTA pathways. So if enrolled po kayo in one pathway, again, you can take one or you can take some of these courses. Okay, so yun po. And now, um, we are now in the part wherein, of course, we're in the situation that there is a need for the integration of data science and information and communications technology. It is actually no, it is actually imperative for us to deliver effective and efficient delivery of services specifically to the public. For this part, we will be hearing insights from an industry champion who advocates ICT integration and e-governance. Our speaker is a catalyst for jobs and opportunities in the countryside and an advocate for information and communications technology. She founded, co-founded, spearheaded, and joined meaningful initiatives meant to further the ICT sector in the country, including the National ICT Confederation of the Philippines, or NICP, Bacolod Negros Occidental Federation for ICT or Benefit, the Negros First Technology Business Incubation Programs in support of digital startups and eGov Awards. She also joined the Digital Transformation and Tatak Pinoy Policy Innovation teams as a consultant to the office of Senator Sonny Angara. Aside from these, our speaker is also a recipient, including the Outstanding Women in Nation Service or Towns Awardee in the field of ICT, chosen as Asia Society Top 10 Philippines 21 Fellow and Eisenhower Fellow of the Philippines, and named as the Philippine Individual Contributor of the Year during the International ICT Awards given by the Canadian Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the Philippines. She is a practicing lawyer, law professor, and former councilor of Bacolod City. It is our honor to have, all the way from the City of Smiles, Attorney Giselle Batapa Sige. Attorney,
Hello, good afternoon, Nico. Good afternoon to
good
everyone.
afternoon po.
Congratulations to the Development Academy of the Philippines for this launching of your e-government courses. Thank you for the introduction. It is my honor and my distinct pleasure to join you this afternoon. To all the viewers via Facebook, maayong hapon sa inyo tanan. As mentioned earlier by Nico, I am broadcasting from Bacolod. I just came 5 minutes ago from a stakeholders workshop of Zamboanga City for their digital cities roadmap. So it just took me 5 minutes to move from Zamboanga to the Development Academy of the Philippines. I guess that's the new normal now. So I'm kind of very inspired because you have all these developments happening not only in Metro Manila but also in different provinces, in different cities all over the country. And I'm always inspired when I see initiatives and efforts coming from the countryside. No, so I guess that's a very major equalizer now. Digital technology is a major equalizer. I know probably we have a lot of innovators and digital advocates now watching us from different parts of the country, even far-flung provinces away from the center, very far from the Development Academy of the Philippines. And it's good to know that we are here this afternoon and open to the idea that we need to step up and that we need to improve our skills and our knowledge and our proficiency in delivering e-government so that we can achieve what we wish to achieve as innovators, and that is a digitally transformed country in the future. You know? So also, I'd like to mention that I'm very honored to speak after one of my favorite digital mentors in 2004, just a trivia, when I was Councilor Bacolod. This person really helped me a lot. I guess as commissioner of the Commission on Information and Communications Technology, si Sir Mon, our previous speaker, is already occupying a national position, and nagulat na lang siguro si Sir Mon to receive a call from a city councilor asking for help. How can we make Bacolod and other cities outside of Metro Manila become digital hubs? And I'm so glad that right now we are also joining forces in advocating not only digital jobs but e-governance, and more specifically e-government innovation in the public sector. I also congratulate all the officers of the Development Academy of the Philippines for spearheading this initiative. It's really, really about time to democratize trainings for our public sector brothers and sisters. It's always like we're pushing the private sector, the academe to step up, but now we also need to capacitate those who are helping capacitate the whole country, and that is those who belong to the public sector space. So allow me now, Nico, to share my screen.
Sure, attorney. I
I
think
hope this goes
multi
well. Okay.
yes, there you go.
All right. So I just have a few slides, and what I wish to share with you this afternoon is a combination of insights from how we actually started as a small group of countryside ICT advocates in 2012. So basically, that's 9 years ago. A specific program which simply uh, was aimed or designed to encourage local government units to digitize their public service delivery platforms or programs so that they will become more responsive, more effective, transparent, and accountable to their immediate citizenry or residents. So we were meeting with some officials from the DILG together with my fellow officers, trying to think about how we can encourage the growth of digitalization and innovation, not only in the center or in the metropolis, but also in the countryside. That's the first part of my sharing. Then I will also would like to share. I don't know if this was touched earlier by previous speakers, but I caught a portion of Sermon's discussion about creating a data integration culture, which is one of the key pillars of successful e-government as laid down by the United Nations Economic and Social Department in their latest 2020 e-government survey. I would like to share that, and then of course I'd like to connect it with how very valuable this initiative of the Development Academy of the Philippines and the Analytics Society, where Sermon is a part of, how valuable this is in really contributing to the digital transformation of our country. All right, so I was tasked by DAP to share some best practices in driving public sector innovation. I would have to say there are so many, but my perspective and my lens right now is from the local government side. So, just a brief introduction. I also belong to an organization. Well, that is why I am here, because as early as 2008, we in the different cities in the Philippines, the big ones for a start, gathered under the auspices of the then Commission on Information and Communications Technology, and Sir Muad Ibrahim was one of those instrumental in really consolidating our forces as different cities around the country, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. And in 2008, we founded the National ICT Confederation of the Philippines. So the main goal is to champion countrywide digital development in the country. And our vision is to transform the Philippines into a customer-oriented and competitive provider of global services. So you can see in the slide our other different missions now. But basically, our initial aspiration in 2008, or more than 10 years ago, was to try to bring digital jobs outside of Metro Manila, because digital jobs, BPOs, healthcare information, software development, animation, game development, and all ICT-enabled opportunities are basically just coming into Metro Manila. And and then after that you have Clark and then Cebu. But how about the rest of the country, which actually holds more than 70% of our talent in this country? So our wish was to just prepare our locations in to response or in response to the demands of digital investors, digitally enabled companies who would like to locate or to try to explore other locations. So from 10 cities, we grew to 30 cities to 40 cities currently. I'm no longer the president. Zamboanga City ICT Council president, Mike Lim is the president. I was just with him 5 minutes ago. As I mentioned, I was in the Zoom box with the Zamboanga ICT stakeholders. Today, as of today, we have almost 100 member ICT councils. Okay, so one of the things that we saw after 2 or 3 years of existence was, how do we prove to investors that our locations are ideal for digital jobs? And there are several boxes that we need to check. Aside from talent, aside from business environment, you have quality of life, you have infrastructure, very important, connectivity. But at the end of the day, a lot of investors also challenged us to walk the talk insofar as our government ecosystem is concerned. How can a city sell its location to digitally enabled enterprises when business permits are manual? You talk about ICT, but your government services are practically swamped with long citizen queues, paperworks, lead time stretching to more than 3 months just to get government permits. So that seems to not resonate with putting up an impression that you are a digital location, or your location is ripe for digital investment. So it came after 3 to 4 years of existence when we started to engage with discussions with the Department of Interior and Local Government, which at that time happened to be led by also an innovator, former mayor of Naga, and then Secretary of Interior eventually, Jesse Robredo. So what happened was, in 2012, in cooperation with the Department of Interior and Local Government, we started the eGov Awards, or the Excellence in ICT for Governance Awards. So our goal is to hold an annual search for the best practices in local government, which utilizes information and communication technologies to effectively and efficiently deliver its public services directly to its constituents or to its other stakeholders, like the business sector, like vulnerable sectors, senior citizens, PWD, and other important sectors of society. So the first eGov Award started in 2012. It was named after the late Secretary Jesse Robredo, as I mentioned earlier. So what happened was, we initiated a DILG NICP eGov partnership to collate the best practices, ICT practices of different LGUs to serve as an example or as a standard or a metrics for other LGUs to follow. The vision of the award is to establish indices for local government units across the country in harnessing the potential of ICT towards not only serving as an example, but at the same time raising the bar in delivering its public service. We believe that by drawing the attention of the public to best practices of these LGUs in integrating ICT in their capabilities and solutions, we have become catalysts of change and innovators towards digital transformation. So our objectives are four: to encourage the effective and efficient utilization of ICT, to also commend and give a pat on the shoulder to LGUs which really take the extra mile to incorporate ICT in their processes to serve as an example to their constituents at the same time to other cities. Thirdly, to improve the business ecosystem of the LGUs and to motivate the private and public sector to actively participate and invest in the growth of their different cities. Okay, so initially these are the objectives that we have. And of course, to promote transparency and accountability. And eventually, we also embraced open governance, data centric governance, which is very important for timely and relevant policy making or decision making insofar as our leaders are concerned. So, the criteria which we set for our award system is fourfold. First is you have innovative management. So we are looking for practices which are out of the box. We want LGUs who not simply just follow or comply with what is prescribed, but goes out of their way to lessen lead times, to improve customer satisfaction, citizens' satisfaction in experiencing or in transacting with government. Then we are also looking at impact because a lot of local government projects sometimes are also just being, implemented for the sake of spending. So we want to see what the impact of these digital solutions are and its extent insofar as the stakeholders are concerned and insofar as the problems that need to be addressed are concerned. Then you have relevance, solutions that are very relevant to the problem. No? Many a times, there are programs, there are digital projects that would be very much, but at the end of the day, they are not really relevant to the problem in a specific city or in a specific situation. And then, of course, we want to also commend and give premium to local governments which design their systems for replication to be done by other cities. So basically, replication and trying to share best practices among different cities is also something that we encourage from the eGov Awards. So I'd like to share with you some examples of the eGov Awards. And I have to tell you that as I move to my other slides, this particular eGov Awards now has morphed or evolved to something else. And it really gives me great pleasure to know that something that we have thought of and scaled and nurtured for 6 to 7 years is now actually embraced by the Department of Information and Communications Technology in tandem with DILG. So there are practically more than 100 winners and more than probably 500 to 600 entries over this last 9 years since 2012. But I'd like to go and visit memory lane and just to share with you now the first winners of the eGov Awards. So first is our champion for the government to business. So before I skip this part, but during the first 5-year run of our eGov Awards, we only have two categories. And these are the G2B or government to business. And then you have G2C, which is best in government or best in customer empowerment or G2C. So long before all these institutions coined G2G, G2B, G2C, the NICP under my leadership as president, we already started this metrics. No? G2B, which is a category which lauds the significant effect of an LGU's practices in integrating ICT in the administration of responsiveness to their local business sector demands. And G2C is government customer empowerment, which highlights the use of ICT for the delivery of public services. Okay, going to my example, our first winner for G2B, I still remember, is Cebu City, Cebu City's e-tracking of garbage collection. So the discussion or the explanation is in the slide. And I'm really proud because Cebu has always been a consistent winner in various categories, even up to this day. No? So um, here, the goal of the city government was to ensure that garbage is continuously, regularly, and relevantly collected on a regular basis. No? So that is the aspiration of the platform, which made it user friendly, made it easy for the citizens of Cebu to get this particular service. Then our champion for G2C at the time is the province of Tarlac. So we have different levels. You have province, you have city. When we started, there was no classification. It's all LGUs. Now today we have levels. So you have province, city, and municipality. So at the time, we had this wireless access for health, or WA, or WAH, or this particular application deals with the complete local information management solutions using 3G wireless technology. So the impact was very significant in solving some of the critical health problems of the area at that time. Okay? And then again, in the G2B in 2013, the following year, Cebu also went back on top with their G2B application called Cebu Traffic. Okay? It's a platform for professionalized taxi operations management to improve Cebu City's capacity for a more efficiently and effectively planned transport management. All right? So, these are the schematic diagram of the system. And then another LGU in 2013 bagged the GTUC award, or Government to Citizens Award, and that is San Fernando La Union. It's basically one of the platforms that I love because I really hate red tape as a former public official, as a former city councilor of Bacolod. So we were impressed at that time in 2013 because we know that one of the offices that use barcode for tracking letters submitted to offices for purposes of resolution or attention is only being done by the office of the president or by a department level agency. But in this case, as early as 2013, San Fernando La Union already implemented the document tracking system using barcode system to track the number of days and the person involved in the action that is required for every correspondence that reaches the city, depending on which office the correspondence or the letter is received. So of course, there will be penalties for ascribed to any delays or to any abuse of power by reason of delaying this action to these letters. Now, so again, in 2014, we have Valenzuela City, which is Valenzuela City 3S Plus. You will notice the cities that have won as early as 2012, 13, and now 14 are basically consistent even up to now in their digital platforms. I may be speaking now to some people who have even helped in scaling these practices. Okay? So you have the Valenzuela 3S Plus re-engineering for e-business. Okay, so up until now, in the recent digital awards, Valenzuela was awarded as well for their COVID response using digital technology. Then you have in 2014, our champion for G2C, San Mateo Rizal. Now we're talking about interoperability. the value of connecting different offices and systems within your LGU so that you create a one-stop shop feel for your constituents. No? Data and information talking to each other so that it becomes convenient for your constituents to make use of this data as part of their respective needs. Now, as mentioned earlier by Sir Mon, the culture of data integration. And of course, we factor in the issue of data privacy and other legal framework that needs to be factored in. But at the end of the day, you take a look at the impact of this interoperable system to the overall improvement of your local government unit. All right, so what happened was from the eGov Awards, we moved to the Digital Cities PH Awards, which now have several categories. No? Just to break the monotony, I'd like to ask Nico, please, to play a video which is actually voiced over by a machine. Okay, just to prove the point that today you don't really need a human voice. You just have to feed the machine a script. This is a 4-minute video of how we moved from being an eGov Awards program from 2012, and then eventually after 6 or 7 years, or in 2018, became the Digital Cities PH Awards. This time, the Department of ICT or DICT came in, of course, again, with the support of Sir Mon Ibrahim, launched this particular program and renamed and redesigned the program. So I have a 4-minute, about 4.3-minute slide, video.
The fourth industrial revolution continues to change the way we do things. Technology has disrupted slow and obsolete processes to hasten and enhance human interactions. The pace of day-to-day transactions both in government and the private sector has grown faster than ever. It is time for cities and provinces to keep up with the speed at which citizens require public services. There is a growing demand for the application of e-governance or the integration of information and communications technology in the delivery of public services. For this purpose, the Department of Information and Communications Technology, the Department of Interior and Local Government and the National ICT Confederation of the Philippines are proud to launch the Digital Cities Philippines Awards for best practices in e-governance at the level of local government units. The awards aim to highlight and encourage the effective and efficient delivery of services and performance of the duties and responsibilities by local government units. To share and replicate innovative practices, and commend and collate practices in LGUs in integrating ICT in their processes to serve as example and benchmarks to other LGUs. To improve the business development, social services and the ecosystem of the LGUs and motivate the private and business sector to actively participate and invest in the growth of the LGUs. To promote citizens' responsibility and participation as well as accountability, efficiency and transparency in governance and encourage innovation. There are 6 categories for this year. Best in Customer Empowerment or G2C Award. This category recognizes the measurable effect of an LGU's outstanding practices using ICT solutions in the education and engagement of the public and in the use of electronic facilities towards providing improved, timely and relevant delivery of public services. Best in Business Empowerment or G2B Award. This category awards the significant effect of an LGU's laudable practices in integrating ICT solutions and the LGU's responsiveness to the needs of business enterprises, thereby creating business opportunities. Best in Government Interoperability Empowerment or G2G Award. This category awards the valuable impact of an LGU's initiative to connect data and systems with other government offices, both national and local for the convenience of their constituents and to improve its public service delivery. Best in Digital Finance Empowerment or P2G Award. This category commends the initiative of an LGU to promote e-commerce or electronic payment facilities and systems to ensure effective revenue generation and improving the financial management of the LGU as well as giving convenience to the public. Best in Data-Driven Governance or D2G Award. This category cites the efforts of local governments in recognizing that good governance through ICT goes hand in hand with the fair and responsible processing and use of data. Best in Systems for Global Competitiveness or G2W Award. This category cites the efforts of an LGU in developing world-class systems and using ICT that are at par with international or internationally recognized standards, thus making the LGU globally competitive, recognized, and virtually accessible and interactive. One city, one province and one municipality will be declared as champion per category based on 4 major criteria. Innovative management, impact to the LGU or target stakeholders, relevance to the problems and concerns at hand, and replication potential. The Philippines will rise as a digital nation with every local government unit doing their share in effectively creating strategies to bring government closer to citizens. Systems that will enhance transparency and accountability. Platforms that will improve the business environment. Attract investors' confidence and stakeholders' participation. And develop sustainable programs to achieve the goals of the communities. Join the Digital Cities Philippines Awards today and be part of the 4th Industrial Revolution.
That particular video was actually shown during our 2018 run of our digital cities program. So that was 2018, and then it continued on for 2019. And then last year, during the height of the pandemic, it did not really stop the DICT, also with other partners, DILG and NICP, to come up with a more improved edition of our eGov Awards, which is now digital governance. Okay, so as of 2020, we have the Digital Governance Awards. There were some changes insofar as the categories is concerned. I think I remember, which I feel also sad about, the Digital Payments Awards or the e-Payments Awards was not actually included, but I'm happy because I was tapped as one of the jurors for the COVID programs, for the best in digital COVID responses using ICT to help in various aspects of the COVID problem, from distribution of social amelioration fund to contact tracing apps to spreading valuable information to ensure that government continuously or that citizens continuously are made aware and continuously trust the local government their respective local government units. So for those of you here joining us who belong to the different cities and local government units, municipalities and provinces whose seals were part of the halls of fame in the eGov Awards, Digital Cities and Digital Governance, congratulations po. Salamat at kayo ang naging inspirasyon ng ating bansa in the different cities and municipalities and province in propagating innovation. In reality, every year we only have around 100 entries, despite the fact that we have more than 1,000 local government units. But it doesn't really discourage us because it only takes one candle to spread the light. Okay, so I think that this initiative of DAP is a good point is a good start in really achieving digital transformation for our country. So just some examples. I now segue to my second part, which is the United Nations eGov survey, which I'd like to share with everyone. But before that, I'd just like to share this slide. It's very simple. It's very it simply summarized all the popular e-government applications which were used during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ito po yung mga programs and mga projects na entries of different local government units, provinces, cities, and municipalities using this technology to combat or address COVID-19 problems. So you have contact tracing using Bluetooth to track virus and all this. You have AI, virtual doctors, chatbots. You have online permits, and we have e-learning portals developed by different LGUs to respond to the problem of no face-to-face education. So I hope this slide inspires everyone to take a look at also some of these solutions. Now, um, the e-government survey of 2020 to me is a good case in support of why the Philippine government and leaders today, whether in the local or national level, should support the initiative of the Development Academy of the Philippines. It's very important for us to know how we can create digital government that will now support us as a country in scaling up and in achieving sustainable development goals. As we say, as the United Nations call it, the period 2021 to 2030 is going to be a decade of action. Why? Because we only have now 10 years to go before we reach the deadline set by the SDGs 2030 or the Sustainable Development Goals. In the slide that you see, the Philippines ranked 77 of 190 countries surveyed under this e-government survey. Is it good? Is it bad? So we are in the middle because we are number 77. But if you look at e-government development index growth by country, you see here the gray color which says no movement. So the whole Philippines practically is not moving in terms or has not significantly moved in terms of e-government despite all the things that we have done in the past. Open governance initiative, all these platforms. So kumbaga, mayroon tayong mga achievements in so far as e-governance is concerned. But we're not continuously improving. Unlike other countries, some of them may be even ranked lower than us, but their movement from previous point to current point is significant. So it's not good to be stagnant. It is never good to be stagnant, especially for a country. And in the area of e-government, it is never good to be stagnant because government practically affects the lives of all Filipinos. So the good point is in the survey or in the United Nations survey, we are number 77. We are in the median spot, even in Southeast Asia. Singapore being high up there in the top 5, and Taiwan and Korea and the other Asian countries which are significantly aggressive in terms of digital. But in e-participation, we have quite a good score, which is 57 out of 190 countries. So e-participation is very important, and I believe that this is one of the things that we have to also consider and to also promote insofar as public sector or e-government courses are concerned. How to harness e-participation. Now, so in the United Nations survey of 2020, my takeaway is actually not the score of the Philippines, but not only the score of the Philippines, but really the 9 key pillars for digital government transformation. How do we transform our country from mere transactional online presence centric country to a digitally transformed country where leadership and citizens embrace innovation through digital platforms? These are the 9 pillars. So I mentioned, I heard earlier sermon saying data integration, which is very important. So One is always vision, leadership, and mindset. How do we create digital transformation, digital government transformation? The key answer of the United Nations is to harness and to seek for transformative leadership. So this afternoon, I hope I am now speaking to more than 200 leaders of different sectors, whether academe or office or a small city or a small organization or a private sector organization or whatever role you are, whether you are a CTO, a CEO, or a CFO, or a CIO, which is very important, Chief Information Officer. You might want to call it in other terms, but I'd like to call it all C level. Why? Because when you drive innovation, when you drive information, you play a key role in your community. So if you have that vision, if you have that leadership, if you have that mindset to drive and promote innovation, you are playing a very big and major role in pushing for digital transformation. Then you have institutional and regulatory framework. You need to put in the legal framework required for digital transformation. Then you have organizational setup and culture. You have to be able to transform, or we have to be able to transform the organizational culture of our different ecosystems, whether you are in the private sector or you are in the business sector. Then you have systems thinking and integration. This area seeks to promote systems thinking and development of integrated approaches to policy making and service delivery. Then you have ICT infrastructure, affordability, and access to technology. This means you're able to provide access to high-speed broadband, internet, and safe and secure access to new technologies for all. Then, of course, you have resources. Or first, data governance. How can I skip that? No? So data governance is very important because I think this is one of the major course offerings of DAP. This ensures the strategic and professional management of data to address data access and use priorities and enable data-driven policy making. Okay, so there has to be a good teamwork between data information officers or data governance, and policy making. Okay? Then you have ICT infrastructure and affordability and access to technology. So we need to provide access to high-speed broadband, I mentioned already. And then, of course, resources. You have mobile resources that are aligned and plans that are aligned and even budget that are aligned to public and private sector partnerships. Okay? And then you have capacities of capacity developer or capacity developers. It's very important to understand that you are not in government not for a reason. You are in public service, whether elective or appointive, or you are a career service employee. You are there to build a community which is aligned with innovation, and therefore you deserve to be capacitated, especially in the quest for digital transformation. And then finally, you have societal capacities. This is where we develop capacities at the societal level to bridge the gap, to bridge the digital divide and ensure that no one is left behind. So it's basically something that's already a slogan, no one is left behind. Pero ang question, how? No? So there are many ways, there are many strategies. It's important that we are very clear in our mission and in our goal. Later on, I show you a slide that summarizes how digital government transformation is something that's really very important and yet very simple to achieve. No? Now, when you talk of stages of digital government transformation, as I have repeated previously, as I have mentioned earlier, a mere online presence is not enough. You create an online presence, you create a website, you react, you undertake separate strategies and doing whatever you need to do. to respond to these concerns. The solutions are not centralized. We all work in silos. We have a lot of people who really have a lot of ideas, but the question is, how do we harness these ideas so that these ideas form part of bigger solutions, of bigger platforms? You know, this city doing this office doing this, and at the end of the day, there's no convergence. No, there's no convergence in the middle. So transactional is when we are in that level. Some e-gov champions meron. There's more coordination. There's transaction database culture. Kung ano yung kailangan, because it's driven by the need to transact and create create these online platforms. So that's transactional digital stage. So you invest in specific projects, and then you also invest in vulnerable sectors. Then the third phase of digital transformation is when we are connected. It's leadership driven. There's that very specific goal to really achieve interoperability. There are more innovation policies. There's a chief information officer. There are e-services that can be perceived. You join platforms. And then, as mentioned earlier, there's data integration, even in education, even in business. You have the use of ICT. There's a single government site, and there's also large investments that are being poured in for initiatives for digital innovation. So, personally, just my opinion, I think we are somewhere between transactional and connected at the end of the day. Our goal now is really to step up and move up to being in the transformative leadership stage that fully supports digital government at all levels. So if there are initiatives in the national level, we also need to connect in the local government level and in the different offices to create an ecosystem that is transformational. Okay, so this is how the United Nations describe or depict the stages of digital government transformation. So I mentioned earlier that e-participation is very important. So just sharing with you this slide na how e-participation really works when there is inclusion, when government reaches out to all demographics, to all sectors of society, when there is that platform for us to be able to voice out what we need, when there is e-government, when there is open government data, and we need people adept and skilled in harnessing and collecting and processing government data, as mentioned earlier, which is one of the key offerings of the AP. Then you also have participation, and here, malakas yung Pilipino dito because many of us are really very tech savvy, except for the fact that only 60 to 70% of us are able to search the internet due to poor connectivity. So, if you migrate participation to e-participation, mas lalakas po yung decision making and consultation process to create more growth and development and more enterprises and more economic opportunities for the country. And so, of course, the underlying principle for all of this is really transparency. The question is, and this may sound political, how much would governments, national government, local governments, run by politicians, how much are they willing to give as part of public data? And to me, it's a chicken and egg as well, because if there's no platform for transparency, then it will always be an excuse on the part of public officials not to give data. So decisions are made very poorly, and access to information is not really very efficient. So at the end of the day, as I reflect on this slide, we have to take a look at e-participation as a very important uh, factor in decision making and in being inclusive as a country. moving forward. Now, so in terms of data effectiveness, we need to take a look at whether the data is effective, accountable, and inclusive. I just want to flash this because yung e-participation kanina is a factor for e-government development when the UN ranked a particular country, and data governance is also a factor. And insofar as data governance is concerned, the things that you find in this slide are the metrics. So this is the last part of my slide. I just would like to also take this opportunity to inform everyone that I personally and several other stakeholders for the last 16 years since we started the advocacy on the ICT space have always moved towards innovation. And in this space, last year, a year ago, we have pushed for the Philippine Digital Transformation Bill, which is kindly authored by Senator Sani Angara, and it comprised of these different levels in the different components. So there's a digital competence framework. We followed it from the European model where every one of us will know anong grade natin in terms of digital skills. Basic skills, advanced skills, intermediate skills, because we need to have these classifications even when applying for our job. Then there's an ICT competency framework for teachers. Whether you are teaching IT or not, whether you're teaching math, you should be able to leverage on digital tools. So there's a Philippine digital strategy, there's a national digital skills development, there's digital inclusion, digital entrepreneurship, digital careers, digital service, and of course, an overall digital transformation council. This has been filed in the Senate, a Senate Bill 1470. It's still in the first reading. It will move to the second reading. But I'm also glad to share with you that we also have pushed for another Senate bill, and it also calls for the amendment of the local government code, which will now include a city information and communications technology officer, or a provincial and ICT officer, or a municipality officer as a specific department embedded in each of the LGU. And there are specific functions for the ICTO per LGU. Kailan ba? 92, 2002, 30 years na halos po yung local government code. Meron tayong city veterinarian, city agriculturist, city cooperative officer, pero wala po tayong naka-embed na department for ICT officer. So I know there are cities who created that by way of an ordinance, they've created that by way of an office, but we need to standardize things. And I think this DAP course will help the LGU if they provide this as courses for future or potential ICTO officer in their local LGUs. So actually, I'm down to my konting slide na lang. I will not mention that this one here is a framework of the whole digital strategy program. You can access that sa United Nations website. This one here, I'd like to end on a personal note. We are all innovators. We need more innovators in the Philippines. We are celebrating 500 years of Philippine identity as Pilipinas. We are now in the quincentennial. Iba na po yung pinaglalaban natin. Ang pinaglalaban po natin yung collaboration, yung uniting, not only for the sake of uniting, but uniting to really bring our country up insofar as our economy is concerned, insofar as our pride with our products and our services are concerned, insofar as our identity as a country is concerned. So these are the three mindset that the United Nations have actually cited in their survey, in their report, 11th edition. If you are an innovator, if you are somebody who wants to thrive in the current digital information highway, you have to have evidence-based mindset. That's why meron tayong data governance courses as now offered by DAP. We should have a digital mindset and most of all, a collaborative mindset. So I spoke for several minutes, but in reality, ano ba to? In reality, at the end of the day, the message that I am trying to convey to everyone right now watching is simply captured in this one slide. If we want digital transformation, we need to realize that it's not about technologies. It is about governance transformation and innovation at all levels. And it has to be part of the national vision of the country. And it has to factor in developing capacities for digital transformation. That's why we need to have initiatives like what Sir Mon and DAP and the Analytics Society of the Philippines have just launched. We need to capacitate our stakeholders, those in the front line of creating digital transformation a reality, if we need to achieve this vision. This requires a holistic approach that is value-driven and it must be institutionalized. Hindi po ito na gusto ko kumuha ng course kasi trip ko lang, hindi siya. It has to be value-driven. There's always that value from how you achieve and accept knowledge, and it has to be at all government levels, whether national or municipal level. It all entails fundamental changes in the mindset of public servants and in the way public institutions collaborate. So thank you for your time. As a proponent of design thinking, I think we all now recognize the need for digital transformation for data governance courses. You see on the screen my website and also my email address. If you need my presentation or any other items on e-governance, I'd be willing to share. Mabuhay po ang DAP at ang Analytics Society. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Attorney Giselle. I am sure that we were able to gain relevant insights from Attorney Giselle Batapasige, specifically on the relationship between the e-participation and the dimension of e-governance. Lalong-lalo na if I would actually want to relate this with the initiatives that we are doing here in Project Sparta. Parang dito kasi sa dimension or sa framework na to, we are actually encouraging our local government units and even NGAs to have an open government data. Wherein this is actually a way of processing, no, para po ma-solve yung mga problems natin through data analytics. And of course, itong mga tools na to will be learned through our data analytics and public management courses. Attorney, I hope you can stay because I think we have some questions or some reactions from the chat po. Ayan, Attorney, sorry po, I just need to look at it. Okay, Attorney, I think this is more of asking advice because, well, from RSU, it was mentioned that your talk is very inspiring to, of course, to LGUs to improve its services through ICT. However, it is a big challenge for island LGUs outside Luzon to be aggressive in embracing e-governance when internet connectivity is very slow or smart or global broadband is weak. I think, Attorney, more of advice po.
Yeah, I think it's more of infrastructure. And as mentioned earlier, as I have flashed in my slide, one of the 9 key pillars for digital transformation is really infrastructure. So we really also need to push that. Sama-sama po tayong maghanap ng solusyon in so far as connectivity is concerned, no? So I think some of the budget that are not going in the right direction could be channeled towards improving connectivity. No, I'm afraid I'm not a technical person to talk about infrastructure, but I fully agree with the point of Sir sa RSU. It goes hand in hand. We cannot join the digital highway without the infrastructure.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney. And I'm actually looking at the chat box. It's really more of a reaction, thanking you that your talk is really inspiring. And Attorney, actually, thank you for discussing or sharing to us the champions in the eGov Awards or now the Digital Governance Awards. And I'm sure we got the relevant insights so that we can actually share with our local government units and NGAs in order for them to develop their applications or ICT solutions for their in delivering their services. And again, I would also like to relate this, attorney, with the initiative, another initiative of Project Sparta, wherein we will actually be holding hackathons, wherein we're actually partnering with some of the local government units in the country, wherein we are actually having problem scoping workshop with them. Then after that the data that will be gathered there will be used for the hackathons. And I think that's a good initiative, which are actually aligned to the goals that we have right now. And based from your discussion, attorney, that would be very a great insight and help for this activity.
Can
So there
I,
you go.
yeah.
Sure, attorney.
So, can I just react to these points sa chat box natin, which are really very, very valid, no? May mga reactions dito na every LGU should have an MIS, no? Currently, actually, may mga MIS siya, but we want to make it really as an ICT officer, no? And tama si ma'am, the MIS should be actually um, uh, led led by an ICT officer. So under the bill that we are pushing for in the digital transformation team under Senator Angara, nakapasa na po siya nakasubmit na po kami sa Senate. What we want is an ICT officer with 5 years experience and with skills in computer, blah, blah, blah. And we actually added data governance. So, tamang-tama because in order for you to qualify as an ICT officer of an LGU under the new law, you have to have data governance. And I am sharing this because alam mo naman Nico, for the last more than 10 years, marami po tayong ICT officers in different LGUs na hindi sila mga permanent employees, mga casual employees lang sila kasi maliliit lang yung mga positions available for them. It is about time now to really empower LGUs by ensuring that you have a professional ICT officer doing all your digital transformation within the LGU level. So, sana po it will become a reality in the next several years. Thank you.
Thanks, attorney. I think we still have data. What would you suggest to do first? Like the first move, if you have a good idea and want your LG to hear about, who can we approach? What would you suggest to do first if you have a good idea and want your LGU to hear about it? Who can we approach?
You know, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. It's one criteria, e-participation. E-participation. My fellowships in Taiwan and Korea brought me to learn the e-participation models of these particular areas. Alam mo bakit? Because citizens can actually suggest policies. Yung parang yung citizens mismo ang policy maker. They go to their specific digital or innovation offices, especially in Taiwan, for example. No, they have an ICT minister that collects all the ideas and studies the ideas of the citizens, digital innovation, and experiments it maybe 3, 4 months or even a year. And then if it works, Nico, ang ginagawa, sinasubmit sa local legislation. So yung idea nanggaling sa ordinaryong tao. So ito, I am really, really encouraging po all the LGUs out there, please listen to your citizens. Because government does not have the monopoly of knowledge, especially in innovation. Hindi natin alam, young people like you have better ideas on how to solve traffic, on how to solve drainage or flooding, no? So, using technology. So, I agree. I don't know how it will happen, but it has to be institutionalized. But in the meantime, ang ma-advise ko lang sa question is find an innovation champion in your LGU. Kasi baka there's one counselor or there is one appointive officer in your local government unit that has an innovation mindset which can or who can listen to you. That's my concrete advice in the meantime. But ako Nico, I wish that in the future we can really push for LGUs to have e-participation mechanisms.
All right, that is noted, Attorney Giselle. Thank you so much po, and I hope no, let us have these we have these courses that would probably teach us on the tools or data analytics tools that we can utilize in doing all these initiatives that we actually want for our LGUs. Again, thank you so much, Attorney Giselle. It is our honor to have you.
Thank
And
you.
there you go. I think we are already with the last part of our program. And to formally end the event, may we now call on again the Dean of the DAP Graduate School of Public and Development Management, Dr. Lizan Perante Calina, for the closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Nico. And
You're
again,
welcome po.
magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat.
Gandang hapon po.
Our big thanks to Dr. Alan firing message. I'm quite elated by the fact that through this online roadshow and Sparta launch, we all got a glimpse of what will transpire once we start offering the courses. This is a new take on public management as it will be integrated with data science and analytics. And certainly, it speaks of a new public management paradigm that will not only cater to public sector organizations' productivity, but also to its effectiveness and efficiency in terms of service delivery. And Attorney Giselle earlier emphasized about data governance, and this is really about public management and public administration. So the set of courses mentioned earlier that encompass subjects on e-governance systems, data analytics, urban planning, and sustainable cities are of utmost relevance on how we must approach our way of providing things and trainings as well. So the courses were all designed to establish stronger building blocks in the occupational arena using the vast technology of today. But what's important there, it should be citizen centric. So we are leveling up our governance perspective, which include being strategic, critical, and resistant to bring forth innovation and provide future proof solutions to the challenges posed in today's time. So looking back, the Sparta and the graduate school collaboration started with a single objective, and that is really to accommodate the learners on the way to achieving excellence in serving the public. And this one talks about our societal purpose, what we can do for our community. And it is, of course, our duty to share what we know in the academic field. Also, taking note of this avant-garde collaboration is this is within our goal to inject innovation in the public sector and navigate our preferred features from there. And it is also notable to mention that we must always further our knowledge and take advantage of all additional learnings. Let your mind express its versatile hunger for learning and develop your skills without limitation para sa inang bayan. As we all know, learning is a continuous process. So with this collaboration, I would like to thank our speakers for sharing their expertise with us. They have been very active in presenting their insights and prospects on applied analytics, smart cities, and e-governance, as well as best practices. Also, this project would not have been possible if not for the efforts of Graduate School and Sparta project teams and all other cooperating agencies involved. My appreciation to all of you. With that said, may this launch serves as a roadshow of opportunities to innovate and make significant improvements. Thank you, everyone. Hiraya man, Hiraya mabuhay. Back to you, Nico.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lizan Perante Calina. That's really a nice line for us to conclude our event. And of course, speaking of this event, this actually provided us the opportunity to witness the launching of the new Sparta Public Management courses, and definitely to expand our knowledge on data analytics and public sector innovation through our distinguished resource speakers. To take these public management courses, again, you may visit Course Bank. And of course, you may send us a message on our Facebook page, Project Sparta. And you could also follow the Facebook page of DAP, Graduate School of Public and Development Management. And also, you can also reach us through our email, Sparta at dap.edu.ph. Then our websites, sparta.dap.edu.ph and gspdm.com. Of course, we value your feedback. So before we all leave, please do accomplish our evaluation form through this link, which is now flashed on your screen and being sent in the chat box. So there, and we would also like to remind everyone to please do accomplish this with your full name and your email address, because we will be using the list of names and email addresses here in the issuance of your certificates of attendance. Thank you so much po. I hope you take time po in giving us feedback. And in a week po, we will be sending you out your certificates. So there, I think kudos to the project team of Sparta, and to the Office of the DAP Graduate School of Public and Development Management. Congratulations to us once again. This is Nico Visperas. This is the Sparta Online Roadshow, leveraging data science and analytics for public sector innovation. Yun po, maraming salamat po, and we would like to request for a group photo. Yun po. So I think we can use our Zoom background, and let us open our cameras, of course, for documentation purposes. And of course, we will be also, we'll try to send these to you if allowed. So there you go. I hope everyone is opening their cameras. We are still more than 200 in this meeting room, and we are very thankful that you guys attended our event. There you go. I hope and I hope our project team is already taking some photos or screenshot of this. I'm sure we do have a lot of delegates from different parts of the country. I think we have people from Romblon, from Mindanao, I think from Central Mindanao University, Valencia City. We also have delegates from that local government unit. Okay, are we guys good for the photo? Okay, so give us a few more seconds. Medyo marami pa rin po tayo. We are very happy that you stayed with us po from the beginning. Even though we had a few technical problems, we are very grateful po. And we hope that we're going to see all of you again in our next Sparta events. Of course, we will be conducting roadshows again in the launch of our courses pa po. And we will also conduct some workshops in terms or in relation with data analytics. Okay, and of course, we will be partnering or more partnership events again with the DAP Graduate School of Public and Development Management. Okay, so I think we're all good. Okay, thank you so much po, and mabuhay. Salamat po, and see you again next time po.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you po, Attorney Giselle, Sir Mon.